How's it going, everyone? This is DoctorJefe playing Crusader Kings 3. And in this video, I'm going to do a very beginner-friendly achievement run of the Emerald Isle. Now for the Emerald Isle achievement, you need to start as an Irish ruler and hold the Kingdom of Ireland. Now for this achievement, I'm going to be playing in 1066. But before we get into that, a quick aside about the 867 start, which is slightly faster. If you wanted to get the Emerald Isle achievement quickly, you would play as High Chieftain Aed McGormlaith of Meath in the 867 start. Now the benefit of playing as Meath in 867 is that you're a tribal ruler, and you have access to the Conquest Casus Belli. You can use that to take lands from your neighbors without having to wait to fabricate claims. Also, as a tribal ruler, you can form duchy and kingdom titles for half the gold cost that a feudal ruler would have to pay. This means that you need less gold to form the Kingdom of Ireland, so you will get the necessary amount of gold more quickly. However, playing in 867 is not very beginner friendly, and that's for one main reason. His name is Ivar the Boneless. He has a military strength of 6,000 soldiers. Now, as part of the Sons of Lothbrok, the Vikings are invading England. They have a huge supply of soldiers, and while they do start off with wars against Northumbria and usually decide to invade Scotland or the rest of England, they do have lands in Ireland, which means that they could expand in Ireland, which could cause you some trouble if you're a beginner player. However, advanced players should be able to get the necessary 7 territories in order to form the Kingdom of Ireland in time before the Vikings come and descend upon you and cause you any trouble. So, because I want this to be a beginner-friendly playthrough, we're going to start off in 1066. Okay, now that we've looked at 867, let's talk about 1066 start. We're going to be playing as Petty King Murchad O'Brien, the Duke of Munster. Now we could just start right from here, always make sure to click Iron Man, but let's take a more in-depth look at the surrounding rulers in the 1066 start. So let's scroll into Ireland, and what we can see here is that throughout Ireland, if we just look at the counties, the only Irish leader who has 2 counties is Petty King Murchad, the Duke of Munster. And the good thing about playing as him is that as a duke, he's going to have a claim on this other title, which is part of the Duchy of Munster. So now that we're in here, let's get ready to start. Make sure that the game rules, we've enabled Iron Man, and we'll click play. Always make sure that you save it to something. You can even save it to the cloud for backup, but I've found that you really don't need to unless you're playing on multiple computers. Now, before you click unpause, make sure that you look up here. These are your current situation indicators, and they're going to tell you beneficial things that you're going to want to look at before you start playing the game. Now the main thing is choosing a lifestyle. So for our leader, we have pretty much all these perks in Gallant. Now what we're going to want to do in order to expand is gain the Bellum Justum, which is going to give us 50% minus Casus Belli cost, as well as Overseer. So this will allow us to gain control growth. Now I'm going to go a little bit more into that once those ideas come up, but that's the basic plan. So I'm going to choose the Authority Focus because this gives us +1 Martial, so we need to choose one of these focuses in order to get these perks, and it's going to give us more control growth. Again, I'll talk more about control once we've taken another land for ourselves. So I've selected Authority Focus. You can see that little pop-up up here has gone away. Next thing is that we're going to want to get married. We see heir unmarried, but first we're going to focus on our own marriage. So we can either click on the pop-up up here, or click on our portrait, and then click on these marriage rings to find a marriageable spouse for us. Now what we're going to want to look for is actually an alliance with the Duchy of Normandy. Now you may be asking, why a duchy? Why not a Kingdom of Norway? That seems pretty good. Well, the Duchy of Normandy starts off with 5,000 soldiers. This again is due to some scripted events which gives them 4,000 extra special soldiers. And in this alliance, we're not actually looking to call them into our wars. We're actually just looking for someone strong to keep other people from declaring war on us. Now the AI, when they're choosing to declare war on you, will look at the strength of your allies. So having someone who has 5,000 soldiers is going to really make them not want to declare war on us. So first, we'll send a proposal to this, I believe, is this the daughter of Duke William the Bastard? Can't see where she's coming up in here, but somehow she's related to him, so we'll gain the alliance. Next thing is that we're going to want to get our heir married, again, for another alliance, which will just make ourselves not a target of other wars. So we're going to look for alliance power, and we're going to go with the Kingdom of France. Let's send a proposal there. Alright, so let's check anything else in our current situation. We have few knights, which could be a problem. We may need to hire some more people, but we're not going to do that right now. And we can also see we can declare wars. So our first war is going to be against Earl Murchad MacCarth of Desmond. We can also see that family members can get married. But first, let's just unpause. Let's wait for our marriages to come in. So we have our alliance with the Kingdom of France, and we should also have our alliance with the Duke of Normandy. Now we're ready for our first war. We'll just click on the character's portrait, or we could just right-click on the earldom to click to the Declare War button. We have to choose what we're going to do. We're going to seize the earldom, and you can see down here is this piety cost. Now this is where Bellum Justum would reduce the amount of piety that it would cost to take that title. So it would go from 100 to 50. We don't really care right now. We have very high piety at 600, so we're just going to start our war off. Now, when you start a war, the game will pause, and what you could do is click Raise All Armies. I like to take a more manual approach and look at the rally point. Our rally point is right next to the county that we want to take over, so we can click on it. We could click Raise Local Army, but actually want to raise all of our army here. And what I like to do is actually give them a move order. They're going to continue to gather, and then once the gathering time is up, they will start moving into the other territory. Now we get a call to war because we allied the Duke of Normandy, and his script is to go and fight England. We're going to accept this call to arms because England is going to be so distracted. If we look over at them, they're fighting against the King of Norway as well as the Duke of Normandy. So they're going to be definitely distracted in their two wars, and they're not going to come over here and fight us in Munster. So now, because we moved our troops in right after we gathered them, we're going to be able to win this first battle right away. Now hopefully we would have captured the leader of Desmond, and that would have given us 100% war score. However, it's fine. We have enough soldiers to continue our siege. We need 300, basically above 300. Our besieging army has to be greater than the garrison. Right now we have 332, and the garrison is 295. We are taking 3 casualties every month, so after approximately 10 to 12 months, we wouldn't be able to continue our siege. However, it's going to take maximum of 5 months, and we're also going to get certain siege events which should increase our siege ability. You can see here the siege progress. We have to get to 325. We're at currently 100, and apparently it doesn't update once you hold over it. But if you put your cursor over this little spears icon, you can see the siege progress continue to tick up. These siege events, currently we're getting stalemates, so we're not getting any benefit to our siege, but hopefully soon we'll get some good siege events, and it's only 3 months left. Now this guy had no allies. He has 4 soldiers down here, but we really don't have to worry about them. We're basically just going to continue to sit here, sieging them down until we have this county under our control. Now the nice thing about taking over Ireland is that it's all one province, so we only have to siege down one province in order to win the war. So let's just increase the speed. You can do that with the plus key on your numerical pad, or go click the 4 key. So France is calling us into a war. We're going to accept these calls to war. We're not going to join them. We're not going to go to England. We're not going to go into whoever France is fighting. I believe against Aquitaine, we don't really care about that. Again, these alliances are just to keep other people from declaring war on us. Now, when you do get those calls to war, you see that the game will pause for a little bit. That's fine. We'll just continue on. So now we have the siege won. But before you go over here, click this and click the enforce demands, what you're going to want to do, and this is crucial, something that every beginning player should do, is go to your court and look at your prisoners and see who you can ransom. Now, because this is a single province ruler, because we've sieged down his province, we will always have 100% war score, full occupation plus 100%. Now, these captured heirs and stuff, we can ransom them off for extra gold. And why you want to do this before you enforce demands is because once we take his county, we won't be able to ransom them for any money. He will become basically a landless ruler and won't really care about those people who we have in our prison. So let's ransom them off. We'll get 10 gold for this kid, and apparently he doesn't want these other guys. So we got 10 gold, which is fine. Now we can enforce the demands, and this land should be ours. Now he wants a seat on our council. So now this is a good time to talk about our council. Let's look at it. He's a powerful vassal. He has minus 78. And because he is a ruler of a county, he could start joining factions. Now, there are no factions currently, and you won't really have to deal with any of them in this playthrough. But this is something that you are going to want to know about for future playthroughs. So let's see what we could give him. He does have high intrigue, so perhaps we'll make him as our spy master. However, we have another powerful vassal. Where are we going to put him so that he's happy? Well, we could put him as the diplomat, or we could find somewhere else for this guy to go. Let's see, he does have high marshal, so let's put him in as our marshal, actually. So now he has minus 28, which is kind of unfortunate. Another thing is that we are currently not endorsed by our bishop. We have 0 right here. So what we're going to want to do is sway him, and that will give us access to more taxes from the religious clerical holdings. Now if we look up here, we could declare war on Earl Aid of Eilich, but that's not for our claim. So now let's look back at our council. So what we can do with our council members is, currently our bishop is gaining us extra piety. We don't really need piety for this achievement run. What we actually need him to do is fabricate a claim on a county. So let's check our neighbor in Ossory. We see that he has no allies, has 383 military, which is pretty close to ours, but it says it's vastly inferior. If you want to know why it's vastly inferior, it has most of that, it comes from the fact that we have 10 out of 10 knights, and he only has 3 knights. Now, knights give a huge boost to your army's rating. So let's send our counselor here to fabricate a claim. Now, it's going to cost around 84 gold, so we're going to want to make sure that we save up some gold once he comes to tell us that it's time to fabricate our claim. Up here, we can see how many months it'll take. 18 months, or about a year and a half. Now, our other counselors, we don't really need to change what they're doing. This guy is gaining us prestige. Here we could increase our vassal opinion, but we don't really care about that because, as I said, they're not going to be joining any factions. Here we could also choose whether to collect taxes or increase development. Now, long term, you may want to increase development, but if you're going for the Emerald Isle achievement, we're just going to want to collect taxes so we can get as much money as quickly as possible in order to pay for the duchy and kingdom titles. Our marshal is currently organizing levies. Once we gain another county, we're actually going to use him to increase control. And finally, our spy master is disrupting schemes. This should keep people from murdering us, which we definitely want to do. We don't want to get murdered during this run. Alright, so now we do have this prompt to raise armies, but again, as I said before, we're not going to be joining those wars. And now basically we're just going to wait. We're just going to sit here and wait until this fabrication is complete, and I'll see you then once the fabrication is done. So we can see here that we've swayed our bishop, so now he's going to like us and make sure that we get the church holding taxes. Now it's only 0.1, but that 0.1 does add up over time. Also, as we continue to expand, we should have more and more church holdings, so this 0.1 should increase. Now, in terms of who else to sway, we're probably going to want to sway this vassal. He has a negative opinion of us, so he's a fair target for our swaying schemes. Okay, so the Norman conquest of England has completed. We have won the war, so now our ally will be the King of England. He's calling us to a war against Norway, so apparently Norway is still fighting. We'll accept. Again, we don't really care. We're not going to join. We are very close to this person who's hostile to us, but they're very unlikely to come down and fight us. Their war is down here in England, so we'll just hang out and pretty much not do anything and continue to wait for our claim to be fabricated. Alright, so we've just gained a martial perk. You'll see this little pop-up whenever you gain enough points down here. So what I'm going to do is click the Bellum Justum, so that way our casus belli cost will be halved. Now, we're going to want to gain enough to gain this other perk, to gain control growth. You could also choose Gallant, which is a pretty strong trait. It gives you plus to prestige, as well as plus to martial and prowess. But we really don't need more martial score. In fact, our army is going to be strong enough to start steamrolling all these independent Irish rulers very soon. And as you can see, we now have popped the Fabricate claim. It has been enough time. So all that's missing is one little bribe. See it done. We're going to lose 84 gold. We get a claim on the Earldom of Ossory. So that's very important, because right now, say that we try and declare war, we have no casus belli. We could say, no, I cannot. This would be mainly if you somehow ran out of money, you can't pay for it. But of course, we're going to want to see it done. Let's pause it real quick. Now, if we right-click and we click on the character, we can now declare war. So let's just do a quick check. They have 391 to our 518. We definitely have enough men. Now this is a very good beginner trick right here. Always make sure to put a rally point close to the capital that you want to siege. You can see where they are going to start from. It'll have this little flag over it. Another quick tip is to look for the castle icon, which is basically this little ring fort right here in the center. So we're going to right click on them. We're going to declare the war for our claims. You can see the cost has been halved due to the Bellum Justum. And we're going to go through a lot of prestige, so the Bellum Justum will make sure that we have enough to continue our attacks on our neighbors. So let's declare the war. The game will pause, which is very useful. We'll raise our whole army here, and I'll click to make sure that they go there once they're finished gathering. Now, as I unpause, you can see that we're going to go in and begin our siege of their lands very quickly. Now this could be worrisome that he's going off to siege these other lands. However, since we did start our siege before theirs, we really have very little to worry about. So I'm just going to speed it up, and you can see that our siege progress will continue. In fact, they don't have enough soldiers to siege down this land over here. You can see our garrison numbers right here, 464. It's not showing it for anything else. So the AI is going to come and try and fight us right here on their lands. Alright, so I'm glad that this happened. So we've captured a valuable hostage. We took their heir. You can see that the captured heir is giving us plus 50%, and battles won is another plus 50%. We could end the war right here. But again, we're going to want to siege down this holding and try and get as many prisoners as we can. So we can probably ransom his son for about 50 gold. But maybe we'll capture someone else, and we can take his full 73 gold. Again, we're going to want to get as much gold as possible, because fabricating claims costs gold, and forming duchies and kingdoms is going to cost a lot of gold. In fact, right now, let's start fabricating our claim on something else. So we could go into Dublin, but they're pretty strong. So that's something that we're going to probably have to deal with later on down the line. So let's go against either Connacht or... Okay, so they have an ally with Bohemia who has 2,000 soldiers. And while Bohemia is very far away and unlikely to be able to save them in time before we finish sieging them, let's just go against Athlone because they basically have no allies right now. So let's start our fabrication of claims right there. Another thing is that because we are the cultural head, we have the most Irish lands. We can choose what our fascination is. If you're going long term, I would probably suggest going with hereditary rule, so you can enact the partition law. but it's not going to really matter if you're only going for the Emerald Isle achievement. Okay, so we finished our siege. Unfortunately, we didn't get any other hostages. Let's make sure to ransom off this kid for 50 gold before we enforce our demands. Great, now we can enforce the demands. So we've taken this land for ourselves. Now we're going to move our council over here to increase control in this county. And if we click on it, we can see that the control is currently 39 out of 100. You can see that levies are changed by minus 30% and taxes are changed by minus 60%. If we're going to want to get more gold and more levies, which we're going to need to keep expanding, we're going to want to increase the control as quickly as possible. So that's why I chose the authority focus in order to increase the amount of control we can get per month. So now it's going to take approximately 60 months, whereas before it would take, let's see, 0.7 into 60, maybe around 80, 90 months, which is a pretty big deal. Also, we're getting incremental gains over time, so it's definitely useful to choose that authority focus as your martial focus. Again, we're just going to be chilling around, not doing much. Let's see. Okay, so this guy is coming to us. He's like, hey, why are you fabricating your claim here? We're just going to say, yo, we don't really care. We have prestige to spend. Sometimes you get discovered, but it's fine. You'll also gain some possible events that will come up because of your martial focus. So we're going to pay this guy some gold. Maybe we'll get the trait Flexible Leader, which is pretty awesome. Looks like we didn't. So we paid gold for nothing, but at least we didn't spend prestige, which would have been the other option. Okay, never mind. You do have to wait a little bit, and then it happens. So apparently we did gain the trait Flexible Leader. So, yes, patience is a virtue. Is it a virtue in our religion? No, apparently not. So for other religions, patience is a virtue. Maybe it should be a virtue in my religion. Alright, again, we're just going to wait until this claim is fabricated. Alright, we have our next claim. Again, we're just going to rinse and repeat. I like to remove the old rally points that I'm not going to use anymore. Let's place our new rally point right next to where we are going to invade. We'll declare our war for our claim. Raise the entire army right here and move on in. Now this should be a crushing win for us. Unfortunately, my nephew got injured, but what can we do? That's just what happens in battle sometimes. Although that does remind me, we should probably make sure that our son is not one of the knights. So what you can do is click on the knights tab to manage it. You can scroll down to wherever our son is and forbid him from being a knight. This will keep him from dying, which will be nice long term. We don't want our son really to die off. Let's see, is he pretty good? I mean, he's alright. He's maimed though, that's not good for him. So we got our next perk. We're going to get Serve the Crown. This is going to give us more control growth, which, as I showed you, is beneficial for more taxes and more levies. Dread is also useful for a variety of reasons. I'm not really going to go into it too much right now, as that's not the main point of getting Serve the Crown. So the next thing we're going to want to do is actually change our lifestyle focus, and we can do this on the 15th of September. So that'll be coming up very soon. Alright, so we're going to want to go into the diplomacy lifestyle, and that's because we're going to want to get the perk Ducal Conquest. Title creation costs minus 20%. Now this is a huge benefit to us going for the Emerald Isle achievement. Now I'm going to select the Majesty focus so that we can gain diplomacy as well as prestige, because prestige is still very useful. And the benefits of getting this title creation cost minus 20%. So the Kingdom of Ireland costs 500 gold to create. If we get that minus 20%, we're going to be saving 100 gold. Also, creating a dukedom, which we currently can't do right now, costs half this, so 250 gold. And minus 20% is a savings of 50 gold. So we'd save 150 gold by getting those perks. And that's going to be really beneficial because, again, we're spending lots of money fabricating claims. Which reminds me, I should probably fabricate a claim quite soon, possibly up here on Briefne. Why? Oh, Briefne is now part of Dublin. So Dublin has been expanding, which is going to be kind of annoying. So let's fabricate our claim on Connacht instead. Hopefully during our siege we gain some important prisoners, which we can then ransom off. So let's see what we get. No prisoners, unfortunately. Yep, no one we can ransom. Well, we found someone who we can ransom for money. Always good to double check that. Now we'll enforce our demands here. Disband our army. And what I like to do is actually move the increased county control over to the next land. Of course, you do have to wait a couple days for it to pop up. Again, we wait until our claim is fabricated here, and we're going to continue expanding this way.